This is UC Trends 2020, our series of executive interviews with some of Silicon Valley's biggest technology providers. What we're going to do is speak with a member of their leadership team to understand more about the personality and culture of the business, but also try and get an insight into their plans and strategy moving forward. One company synonymous with software is Facebook, and its collaboration platform, Workplace by Facebook, promises to transform the ways its customers can communicate and collaborate. We're here in the Facebook garden at headquarters to speak with Karandeep Anand, who is head of Workplace by Facebook, to understand more about its plans for the collaboration industry. Karandeep, thanks so much for having us into the pretty spectacular this is Facebook headquarters?
This is Facebook headquarters.
And you are obviously head of Workplace by Facebook. And I just wanted to understand, first of all, how did you personally get into the collaboration, communication style of the industry, and how did you end up as head of Workplace by Facebook?
It's been quite an interesting journey for me. Before joining Facebook about 4 years ago, I spent a lot of my time building enterprise software at Microsoft. And when I left Microsoft, I was like, I'm not ever going back to enterprise again. I'm going to go back, try my hands on consumer. And the last couple of years, that's what I've done at Facebook, is build our commerce business, our ads businesses, a couple of game stuff. So been doing a lot of that. And all along, internally within Facebook, we use Workplace to run our own businesses entirely. So all of Facebook runs on Workplace. And that stuck with me since the day I joined Facebook. Was something feels different about this company. How we communicate, how we collaborate is fundamentally different than how I've seen work happen before when I joined Facebook. And that bug never left me. So when the opportunity to come and help take enterprise SaaS muscle for Facebook forward with Workplace, I jumped at the opportunity to start helping with this. And as part of that, I moved to London to help run Workplace and support our ever-growing portfolio of enterprise SaaS software.
That's quite an interesting sort of development path, isn't it, really, from it being an internal tool, yes, like you're saying, to realizing, hang on, this has ramifications vastly outside just the internal requirement.
Indeed. Actually, and that's what I feel really proud about with Workplace is we did not just build a piece of software to give to customers and sell it. We genuinely believe in how Workplace, or Facebook for Work back in the day, it was called, changed how Facebook worked, and more importantly, how Facebook went from a few hundred people startup to now over 50,000 employees. And we still retain the agility, the transparency, the accountability in the culture. And that's what a lot of companies wanted from Facebook, is not just sell us ads and business solutions, also sell us this cultural transformation that Facebook's gone through as a packaged software. So we took what we were using internally and started sharing it with the likes of Walmart's and Nestle's and Danone, and one of the largest customers in the world who also wanted to be as innovative and go through a cultural transformation. So we took what we did internally, packaged those best practices as amazing software, and started sharing with other enterprises in the world.
And you talk about some of those customers, and I've seen some of the case studies for those, and it's really impressive. What do you attribute that to? What's sort of the secret ingredient of Workplace by Facebook and that success in terms of winning over those customers?
I think if I was to boil it down to three things that make us, what makes Workplace stick and amazing is, one, because we've used it and we use it every day, a lot of our own learnings and 15 years of history of Facebook's ability to connect the world gets distilled into software, so that even small things like how do you react to post, what do you communicate, how do you post groups, has that 15 years of learning and over 50,000 of internal employees using it every day.
So you've got a good testing initially.
Amazing testing, amazing learning, and we can bring that innovation and give it to other companies. So it's not like a traditional enterprise software. We build it for consumers to connect the world. We're able to use it for transforming enterprise as well, and we give that amazing social engineering into the companies. That's number one. There's 15 years of deep learning and expertise in this space. The second comes from our core philosophy, where we want to connect everyone and not just a few people. And that's where Workplace is very differentiated, where we not just connect people who sit behind desks and have laptops, we connect everyone. That's what we call the frontline strategy of Workplace. Workplace, by its very nature, given that Facebook's connected 2 billion people with Facebook and Messenger and WhatsApp, we have the learnings and the empathy to be able to connect everyone in a company in the same way and same empowerment which you would typically build for knowledge workers. So frontline strategy and ability to connect everyone is the second big secret sauce, if you will, because of our roots of connecting 2 billion people on the planet. The third is there is tremendous amount of innovation that happens across the rest of Facebook, whether it's machine learning or AI or some really cool stuff we're doing with AR and VR and headsets right now, or WhatsApp or connecting people over 2G connections. All of that innovation among 40, 50,000 people that happens distills itself into Workplace. So it's not just Workplace as a product, but it's innovation of 40,000 plus people and billions of dollars of infrastructure that comes to power Workplace and make it one of the best effective collaboration and comms tools.
And you mentioned the frontline worker story. That traditionally has been an area that's potentially been neglected a little bit by enterprise software providers because we've all concentrated on the knowledge worker.
Indeed.
Who's sat at their desk and obviously completing an important function for a business, but the sort of frontline worker story in various different industries, retail or manufacturing, whatever that might be, has been slightly neglected. So that's an important area for you.
Very important, because that is what plays to our mission, which is we created Workplace not to build a business. We created Workplace because we genuinely believe in the mission we are on, which is you connect employees and the companies get much better and way more effective as a business as well. So there was no reason to not connect where a lot of the actual business and learning happens, which is on the front lines. So the people who are out on the road, mobile workers, whether you're a barista, whether you're a retail employee, whether you're a traveling salesman, that's where a lot of the business knowledge actually exists. Excluding them from the conversation is almost, in my mind, preposterous. And hence we commissioned a research ourselves to understand how many people who are not on desks, how they feel connected to the headquarters. And we published this report called Deskless, Not Voiceless. We found that over 55% of frontline employees don't actually feel connected to the company. That feels like a massive lost opportunity for both the company and towards our mission of connecting everyone. And hence a lot of focus on not worrying about whether they can pay, how much will they pay. It might not be as lucrative from a business perspective for traditional players in the enterprise world, because knowledge work is where most of the money seems to be. But we want to connect to a mission where if 1 billion plus people are employed, they should have the same voice, they should have the same experience and the same best of breed tools that everyone has. Access unlocks opportunities.
Yeah, and it's such a potentially wasted resource if, like you said, those people who are, and in many cases, on the absolute front line, talking to customers and understanding and appreciating it, it really needs to be connected back in.
That's where the best ideas exist. Our job is to help make sure those best ideas connect from the front lines back to the headquarters.
One of the things that we really want to try and get across in this UC Trends video interview series is what it's like to work in some of these Silicon Valley, and obviously you guys head office in London in terms of Workplace by Facebook, but these tech innovators. What's it like? What's the culture like inside Workplace? What are your colleagues like? What's it like to be on the inside track? If you can give us a flavour of that.
Indeed, we often both joke and say that Workplace within Facebook also behaves like a startup within a startup. So the rest of Facebook is also very agile, very humble, fairly transparent and accountable set of people in the company. But then within that, Workplace is a startup as well, because enterprise SaaS for Facebook is a brand new muscle. So we get to define our own rules, define our own roadmaps. So there's extreme empowerment. So everyone is fully empowered to make the decisions, what needs to be built, how they build software, how they interact with other people. So empowerment is core part of the culture. Second is extreme transparency. So because we have an end-to-end business that we're running with Workplace, everyone is almost up to speed with how we're thinking about it, what the strategy is, how strategy needs to evolve. And that transparency forces everyone to also be accountable for what decisions we're making and how we're communicating. On those two pillars of accountability and empowerment, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. So we work hard, we work crazy hard.
I think the offices reflect that as well.
Yep. If you see the office spaces, they're open. Nobody has cabins, everyone's an open floor space plan. You get to talk to people, you have access to the best video conferencing and best video collaboration tools. We use Workplace to connect with people across remote offices. Our teams are distributed. They have access to the best tools in terms of not just the software we use, but also how we build the software itself. So in-house developed, build systems, amazing set of tools for collaboration, design, research, analytics. We have a whole suite of tools that we build to make sure we are the most effective in getting that innovation out of our door. So while we're working hard, we also have a lot of fun. As you can see, beautiful campus. That's the best way to attract the most passionate talent in the industry, have the best benefits, best tools, and more fun people to work with. Creates an amazing environment for some of the best minds to work together.
If you look back at the last 12 months, if we were putting together a highlight reel, what would you pick out as particular standout moments from the last 12 months, last year?
Indeed. So I started about 7 months into this role now, and when I came on board, one of the first, just pure number that stood out to me is we started charging for Workplace because people are like, hey, of course your Facebook, you can have large reach, but how many people take you seriously in enterprise, how many people pay for it? And when I looked at how well Workplace is growing, we went from 0 to 2 million paid users in under 18 months. That, by any stretch of SaaS benchmarks in the industry, is just a fascinating stat that people are not only highly engaged, but also companies are willing to pay a lot of money to.
They see that value in the.
See the value. So for me, that stat definitely jumps out in the last 12 months. We've on this rocket ship trajectory on getting both engagement and growth. In terms of actual features and capabilities, the few things that excite me is we took all the goodness of Facebook and Messenger and in a safe and private way packaged it for companies to use. But we also have the flexibility of changing the experience and evolving it in a way where we have a completely redesigned experience for Workplace, which is still familiar like Facebook is, but very geared towards collaboration and not only communication. So that's the second thing. We launched a completely redesigned experience for Workplace, which is really, really powerful towards comms and collaboration. The third is there's a lot of ways where we treat USaaS, communications differently, but the world has moved from text to photos to video in the consumer world. But it's surprising to see enterprises still using a lot of email and text-based communication, including chat. So a lot of our investments have gone into making sure video is a first-class citizen, whether you are posting live broadcast to your team, it's a CEO talking to the entire company on a two-way comms, or video chats. You don't worry about joining meeting IDs anymore. You reach to Rob and say, hey Rob, I want to chat, and it becomes a people-first way of making sure video is at the center of collaboration. And a whole bunch of announcements that we made around machine learning, smarter videos, more videos available for live video broadcast as well as for watching a lot of trainings in L&D. I would categorize those three as the biggest highlights, which is amazing growth, as proven by the number 2 million people, paid users, a lot of redesigned experience on collaboration and automation, and then having video-first comms product.
You mentioned some of the sort of emerging technology trends that we hear a lot about in the industry generally. You mentioned artificial intelligence. One of my particular favorites is sort of the realms of reality with AR and VR and XR, all of that stuff. So, well, that was going to be my next question. So, first of all, there's those emerging technology trends, whatever they might be, Internet of Things, the ones we were previously just mentioning. But there's also that change, and you mentioned it before, in terms of the uptake of video-first communication, sort of a workplace trend. What do you see as the main trends that are going to impact your provision of technology services over the next 12 months or going forward?
Indeed. So from both the Facebook and Workplace lens, we normally look at technology which is people first. So yes, there's some cool stuff happening on IoT and stuff, but we typically focus our energies on what will make people's lives better. And hence, I strongly believe in both the power of virtual reality, augmented reality, or now mixed reality is a new term for it.
Yes.
Is changing. And it doesn't have to be in this massive, grandiose way of futuristic Minority Report style.
Although we all want to be doing that.
Absolutely, I would love glass as well. But it starts showing up as very small things, as an assistant, which can understand where you are. So for example, when I fly in from London to Menlo Park, my work chat automatically turns on my out-of-office bot by knowing where my location is. Small things, which is it's augmenting and providing assistance to my day-to-day work life. All the way to now we have Oculus headsets. A great example is Walmart using 17,000 of those to train their store employees with a full simulation of where they might be instead of having to fly and get those trainings, they can be in a store without moving from their desk, understand how to do a store stacking and roll out. And that's the power of how you can simulate environments to create a much better productivity. And there's a lot of other cool stuff happening on the AR stuff, which hopefully we'll talk over the next few months on what's getting unlocked. But as a trend, the power of bringing machine learning and AI and computer vision packaged through AR and VR will fundamentally transform how productivity is perceived today. That's what gets me personally excited.
I really look forward to that. And in terms of, I suppose it must be incredibly encouraging for you in terms of a workplace shift with the greater requirement of sort of remote collaborative experiences. It can only be encouraging because more and more people are going to be needing to use a solution like Workplace, because the traditional model of a business is changing. You don't necessarily have that one fixed office, you have more sporadic, disparate teams.
Correct. And that's the reason why for small product decisions, I'll give you an example where we have a great work chat product, but we not only entirely rely on chat, which is a synchronous way of communicating between a couple of people, to also have chat plus posts, so that if you're working on a remote office, on a remote time zone, or a different building, you don't necessarily have to be either in person or in the same time zone to collaborate. So we offer both synchronous chat as well as asynchronous posting, so people don't necessarily have to be at the same time zone frequency to be able to collaborate. Starting from small things like that, where Workplace offers both synchronous and asynchronous modes of collaboration, all the way to providing default video-based chats in Workplace app, all the way to offering AR and VR to reduce distances and travel time, to how do we make sure that if you're not present in the meeting, you can just live broadcast a meeting to everyone so they can watch it in the comfort of the remote offices, are all the different innovations and investments we're making to make sure that if you are not what people typically call remote, if you're a remote worker, what we like to call as distributed workforce, still feels empowered and have a voice in how the business gets run. That is the increasing trend, and we are pretty well positioned to make sure we're offering the best solutions to empower a distributed workforce no matter where the talent lives.
The final couple of questions, I was going to throw you under the bus a little bit here in terms of try and get you to predict the future. So the collaboration market has, I was about to say appeared out of nowhere, that's probably not true, but it's really boomed just for some of the reasons that we were talking about previously. What do you see in terms of the development market, the development of the market into 2020? Are we going to see even more emphasis, as we were talking before, on the frontline workforce? Yes. What other areas do you see of potential growth or change?
Yeah. I think there'll be the three market forces which will fundamentally shift how we understand traditional collaboration. First and foremost is consumer-grade experiences, and we've seen this from the likes of Dropbox and Zoom and Workplace, where these industries are doing video conferencing or file storage got fundamentally disrupted when someone brought in a very simple to use consumer-grade experience. And that pressure will keep applying to the market, where traditional forms of doing collaboration and chat will go out of the window, where people will want consumer level ease of WhatsApp and Messenger and Zoom.
And that familiarity of, yeah.
Definitely. So that's one market force which is shifting, which is more traditional, old school, built for enterprise grade software will get displaced by consumer grade experiences. The second one is increasingly all CIOs, CXOs are realizing that they have responsibility not just to the shareholders, but they also have a responsibility to their employees, making sure their employees feel fulfilled, empowered, have a voice, and all of them, including the frontline employees, is going to be extremely critical for those companies to not just be agile and awesome, but also be relevant going forward. And a lot of investment we'll see in the market in connecting the frontline employees, as well as making sure the culture and connectiveness of the company is very high. So that's the second big trend that we're seeing increasingly, especially as CEOs of these big companies feel the pressure of being innovative. The third one is, as you talked about earlier, is the distributed workforce. Increasingly, talent in every part of the world will want to connect into global economy. So if you have a team in Toronto, if you have a team in London, Manchester, you can just work from home. Being able to connect all of them through a combination of either video, VR, AR, and even before that, synchronous ways of collaboration will shift our expectations of what a traditional comms and a collab product should be doing. So gone are the worlds of, and you've seen this in the market, where people are replacing Skype with Zoom, they're replacing traditional chat with Slack, they're changing collaboration with Workplace. All of those are signs pointing to those three trends happening in the industry pretty quickly.
And finally, if I could conjure up a time machine for you and I to travel in, and if we went ahead to New Year's Eve in 2020, so over a year ahead from now, and if we were to look back, what would you consider a success for Workplace by Facebook over the next 12 months?
Oh, that's a tough one. Partly because there's so many things that we want to get done in the next 12 months. But I think that there are three markers that I look at. One is, first and foremost for me always is, are people enjoying the workplace experience? We never set out to go build a top-down, you have to use this product kind of a product. It was more of people who want to use it and pull it. So one of the things I keep tracking very closely in my product is, what is the NPS CSAT? And making sure that we remain at 90% plus love of the product is going to be critical while we're growing dramatically to a large part of the industry. So we don't want to compromise on that. So holding high bar on that will continue to be my core North Star. The second is, if you're successful in unlocking a lot more frontline usage and making sure that the 2 million employees or 2 million people in Walmart all feel connected all the time, and not the first swath of deployments we're doing with store managers, that's a great example of have we actually given a voice to all the frontline employees with all the companies that we serve. That'll be a big one. And third, this is New Year's next year, right? So I can dream big.
Go big.
I really want us to look back 18 months from now and saying, remember the time when people used to use text and chat to get work done, versus video is the new default and video is a new way of working. So we would have moved from the text and photo world entirely to a video first based comms product and collaboration product. If that happens, I can rest peacefully.
Well, Kennedy, thank you so much for taking us through it. I really appreciate you having us in.
Thanks for your time.